I think Dodger fans like me have to accept reality. Craig Kimbrel is going to be the closer whether we like it or not. Question: who starts for the Lakers? And more importantly, can we ask ESPN to rid the world of Brian Windhorst? And why the Rams do not have to worry about Von Miller going to another team. Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. There's a certain happiness I feel now on July 9th, 2022, and I think it's pretty simple. It's because I get to leave this mind shaft full of sorrow known as Omaha, Nebraska for a few days. So let's get on to it. Let's talk about LA sports and get ourselves in a good mood. If you like the content we've been putting out, clickety-clack the like button, clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll tell you when we come out with a new video. It's usually between 9 and 10 a.m. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comment, because I'm waiting for the plane. Got nothing better to do. Now, before we start talking about sports news, let's get to the scoreboard. Last night, Will Smith, an RBI single for the game-winning run in the bottom of the 10th inning. Dodgers 4, Cubs 3. Dodgers are on a 5-game winning streak and have a 6-game lead in the NL West. Meanwhile, in El Trafico, Jose Cifuentes scores twice. LAFC avoids a season sweep. They defeated the Galaxy last night, 3-2. Also at that game, incoming players for the Black and Gold came in. Gareth Bale showed up. He wasn't going to play. He was still in street clothes. For that matter, Giorgio Chiellini on defense didn't play either. So I guess they're just not ready to join the squad. You know, when you're a closer, the world is your oyster as long as you get those final 3 outs. I mean, if you think back to the days of Eric Gagne, and he was always coming in, he was automatic, welcome to the jungle, is playing, and everybody, 57,000 people, most of whom don't care for heavy metal, couldn't wait to hear Guns N' Roses. Even Catholic nuns would have wanted Axl Rose's autograph from that song. Even fat Axl Rose. That's how much people loved Eric Gagne. But when the moment a closer becomes shaky, he becomes the most unpopular person on the team. There was hate for Kenley Jansen last year until he discovered a new pitch, right? So now everybody wants it back because Craig Kimbrel has been stinking up the joint for the Dodgers. Former Major League executive Jim Bowden, who I don't know personally, but I pretty much like the guy, he went to The Athletic and suggested a trade, the Dodgers with Kansas City, to get Kansas City's closer. Here's the problem. That closer has only one blown save less than Craig Kimbrel. Kimbrel 3 blown saves, the other dude 2. This is one of those things that tells you how Andrew Friedman looks at things and what separates him from a lot of other front office types. He said that he doesn't like trading for bullpen help because you can't put a set, firm market value on a relief pitcher. They're either up or down. They're too inconsistent in a sense. You know what you're going to get in a starting pitcher. You have a pretty good idea of what you're going to get in an everyday position player. Bullpen, not so much. So the point being, the Dodgers are unlikely to get rid of Craig Kimbrel. It's significantly easier for the Dodgers to try to work with him and square things out than to trade. And by the way, there were rumors that the Dodgers were allegedly into David Robertson of the Cubs, that they might want to get him. Guess who blew a save last night at that Dodgers-Cubs game? Exactly. Meanwhile, also for the Dodgers, Chris Taylor is likely out until after the All-Star break. As a result, the Dodgers have kind of a rotation going out and left. You have Trace Thompson, Gavin Lux, Jake Lamb. Now, talking for the Lakers, they ran into Darvin Ham at Summer League last night out in Vegas, and he was saying that he loves each and every one of the players on his team. Nice, happy talk. When the first wave of free agency washed over everybody, we knew that it wasn't going to be like opening presents on Christmas morning. We knew the Lakers had a bottom feed. And now we're sitting there after that in the draft, we're like, oh crap, 2 of these jokers have to start. Unless, of course, LA winds up trading Russell Westbrook for 2 starters, which I doubt. And by the way, Brian Windhorst of ESPN is back, and he's trying to hype the whole bringing Kyrie thing in there. He's saying the San Antonio Spurs are going to be part of a 3-team deal. ESPN needs to strongly reconsider having this guy on the payroll. He is just trying so hard to will a Kyrie Irving trade into reality. There are 2 problems with the idea of the Spurs joining the Nets and the Lakers in a trade to give Kyrie Irving to Los Angeles. The first problem is Greg Popovich hates trading with Western Conference rivals, particularly one as storied as the Lakers. He doesn't want to help the Lakers. And then number 2, the Lakers don't want to deal future top draft picks. Listening to Brian Windhorst break these alleged stories is a lot like living next to a sulfur plant. No matter how hard you wash, no matter how much you stuff cotton up your nose, you can't get rid of the stench of Brian Windhorst's journalism. So, let's put that aside. If we assume that Westbrook will be on the team, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, that would leave 2 holes in the starting lineup. At this juncture, I would suggest it's going to be Thomas Bryant, the former draft pick who they signed back from the Washington Wizards. I would suggest they put him at the 5, so that gives Anthony Davis a chance to move over to power forward where he prefers to play. And I think Troy Brown Jr. would be the guard, because the Lakers' philosophy with this new coaching staff coming in is a heavy reliance on 3-and-D players. And that's what Troy Brown Jr. is. And he also shoots well. Now, you may be thinking about the draft pick, but unfortunately, Max Christie, who, by the way, is considered a shooter, yes, he's 19. Even Kobe Bryant didn't start as a teenager. And you might also be thinking, but wait a minute, didn't Lonnie Walker get most of the money, that mid-level exemption? Doesn't he get a chance to start? It's a fair question, but his shooting fell off last year. It really dropped. Now, if he regains his touch, I could see that suggestion, but not just yet. Turf Show Times ran the numbers of the LA Rams defense, both with Von Miller toward the second half of the season and without Von Miller. And they ran the numbers, and they're suggesting that it might be a wash in terms of number of sacks and tackles for loss and all the other stuff. Now, because they're basically saying you can be effective with a healthy Justin Hollins in there. Maybe not dominant, but effective. Now, I acknowledge that you could take any kind of numbers and spin them to make a point, right? Somewhere in a padded cell out in Anaheim, there's a guy who works for Disney trying to convince his bosses that the movie Lightyear didn't tank. So I understand the whole point of spinning numbers, how it can confuse people. But the conclusion that I draw from this is actually significantly different. I think it's that defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris, made some amazing adjustments before Von Miller and after landing Von Miller. I think he's a terrific coach, judging from what I've seen both with the Rams and with other teams. And I honestly hope the guy gets another shot at being a head coach. I really do. Somebody ran the numbers on lifetime win-loss records for USC football to see how the Trojans would do against Big Ten opponents. To which I say, that would matter if O.J. Simpson were still running the ball. It doesn't matter how USC did against the Big Ten in the 1960s or the 1970s. I mean, O.J. ain't running anymore. He's not even running from the police. what are we talking about here? How they did against Ohio State with Carson Palmer? How they might have done against Purdue with Rodney Peete, Charles White, Junior Seau, Ronnie Lott? They aren't playing anymore. It's an utterly ridiculous take to make. But I will say this, especially since I'm in Omaha, USC has never lost to Nebraska. Thank you. The Kings have signed restricted free agent Adrian Kempe to a 4-year deal worth $22 million. Kempe, as Kings fans know, had a terrific season last year, scored 35 times. He's a former first rounder, 25 years old. Probably a pretty good deal. Now, as for the draft, the Kings didn't have a first round pick. That would have been 2 days ago. Yesterday, they made all their picks. The first one that they made, the 51st overall, came in round 2. Jack Hughes. He's the son of the Montreal GM, Kent Hughes. If he makes it, it's probably going to be due to skill, but also probably in the lower lines. He's a center. It's highly doubtful he's going to replace Quentin Byfield or something like that. So for right now, he's going to stay in college and work his game. Now, I just want to be blunt about this. I'm simply not excited about the Kings draft class. I'm not an NFL draftnik. You know, I mean, back when the Kings were having high lottery picks, you would look up these names. You would think they have a chance to get to the NHL quickly. These guys are going to be people that are going to disappear for 4 years. I'm excited more about the Kevin Fiala trade. Kevin Fiala coming in, which cost the Kings their first round draft pick. I want instant gratification. I'm going to forget, honestly, I'm going to forget Jack Hughes. I don't follow minor leagues that deeply. I'm not going to remember him. So yeah, I'm a shallow human being. And that's why I live in California. But man, I can't wait to see my friends and family out there later today. Hey, if you enjoyed today's broadcast, don't forget to like and subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're going to come out with a new video tomorrow. We're trying to build something for LA sports. I'm James. Thank you for watching. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Have a great day.